Flutter, the ultimate toolkit for creating visually stunning and highly performant mobile applications. Flutter uses one code base for multiple mobile platforms. Want to know more about Flutter? Then you have come to the right place. Hi everyone, I welcome you all to explore Flutter in this session on Flutter tutorial with the following agenda. Firstly, we will start with what is Flutter, and followed by we will look into why we use Flutter. After that, we will move on to environment setup, where we will be installing Flutter SDK and Android Studio. Then we will see Dart, the programming language for Flutter. Then we will move on to the Dart basics, where we will cover variables, data types, operators, control flow, and loops. Then we will move on to Flutter architecture and we will see how it is built. Then we will jump into widgets, the important building block of Flutter. Then we have stateful and stateless widget. And finally, we will end the session with small Flutter project. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our Edureka's YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with all the latest Edureka videos. And also, if you are interested in getting online training certification course in Flutter, then please check out the link given in the description box. Let us explore what is Flutter. Flutter is an open source mobile application development framework that enables developers to create high performance, visually appealing app for Android, iOS, and other platforms from a single code base. So this is the actual definition of Flutter. So let me make it in a simple terms. So Flutter is a tool that developers use to make mobile apps, so that can work on both Android and iOS devices. Before Flutter, developers used to write different codes for both Android and iOS. But now, using Flutter, we can write a single code for both Android and iOS. And this can save time and effort for developers and allow them to create apps that look and feel great on both platforms. And you should know that Flutter uses a programming language called Dart, which is easy to learn and use for those who are familiar with other programming languages. Flutter also offers a rich set of pre-built widgets and tools, making it easier for developers to create beautiful and functional apps. And we do have many other frameworks for native Android and iOS platforms. But why do we actually use Flutter? As we saw that the Flutter is a mobile development framework that allows developers to create visually appealing and very efficient app using Flutter. And not only that, we also have a lot of features that Flutter provides. The first thing that the Flutter is a fast development framework. So with this fast development feature, Flutter offers a hot reload feature that allows developer to see the changes in their code immediately without restarting the application, which means it processes like a speed of the wind. So which speed ups the development process too, right? So with this hot reload feature, if a developer can immediately see his results, then obviously we will get a expressive and flexible UI, right? Here, Flutter uses a widget-based architecture that allows for building custom UI elements easily and quickly. It also offers a large library of pre-built widgets that can be customized to create unique designs. Then we have another feature that is native performance. Flutter uses Dart programming language, which is compiled into a native machine code. This makes the apps built with Flutter highly performant with smooth animations and quick reload time. And the most interesting feature is the cross-platform development. With Flutter, developers can build the applications for multiple platforms like Android, iOS, web, and desktop from a single code base, saving time and efforts. So imagine how much time and efforts are saved using a single code base. And finally, Flutter is for free. Yes, Flutter is an open source framework with a vast community that provides support, documentation, and a wide range of plugins and packages to choose from. Aren't you excited? So, these are the reasons why we use Flutter today. So, we have seen what is Flutter and why we use Flutter. And obviously, the next step will be environment setup. To install Flutter and set up the environment, for that we need some of the prerequisites, that is Java, Android Studio, and finally we will be installing Flutter. So we will see the step-by-step procedure to install all these softwares. So the first thing I will be installing is Java. For that, go to browser, type Oracle Java. So Oracle is the official website to install Java. So go to the first link and you will get this UI. So here you can see this download Java over here, right? So you can go and click here to install Java. So as you can see here, these are the latest version that are available now. And if you scroll down, you will get the Java 19 for Windows. So if you can see, we have 64 compressed, 64 installer, etc. Right? So we need installer. So just go and click on this link so that this will be installed over here. Now it is downloaded. Go here and click on this. So as you can see, we are preparing for the installation. And you can see a welcome to installation. We have Java SE Development Kit 19.0.2. So let's go and click next. And you can see here the path. Here we have a C folder in the program files and Java will be installed. If you want to change, you can change. I would like to set it as a default. I'm clicking next. So as you can see, we have successfully installed Java. Now the next thing is we need to close this and let's see where we have installed the Java. So go to File Explorer and you can see we have installed Java JDK 19 on Windows, right? So now we have saw while installing the path was in C drive and in program files, and you can see here we have Java over here, right? So double click on this and you can see that JDK 19, right? So click on that, go to bin. So if you click on the bar, so you will get to copy this link. So copy this and now go to start and just type edit environment variable. Go to environment variable. Here you can see the path over here, right? So click on this, edit, and go to new, click here and paste the same path and click on OK. Let us create a new variable. That is, let us give the variable name as Java underscore home. So make sure it is in caps and paste the same link. Just remove the bin. So click on OK and final. So we have successfully installed Java. So to verify that, go to start and type CMD and click enter. Here you will get a command prompt. Here to check, just type Java space hyphen version, hit enter. And you can see we have installed Java 19.0.2 version, right? And now you can check Java C, that is the compiler version. Here you can see we have successfully installed all the Java folders and files. Now let us go and install Flutter SDK. For that, just type flutter.dev. So you will go to the actual Flutter page over here and go to Docs. Click on Get Started. Here you will get started with the installation. So I'll now install for Windows, and here you can see the system requirements specifically for the Windows installation. Here you can see the operating system. The basic requirement will be Windows 10 or later versions. And you can see the disk space. Here the basic requirement is 1.64 GB. So this do not include the disk space for the IDE. That is your Android Studio or the other tools that you develop the application for. And the next thing is the tools. The first thing is the Windows PowerShell. So this will be pre-installed with the Windows 10. So if you are using Windows 10, this will be already installed. So you need not to install again. So if you are using a lesser version of Windows, then you need to go and install this. The next tool is the Git for Windows, so which I don't have, so I'll go and install this. So I'm using the 64-bit. I'm installing this. So once this is downloaded, click on that. And we got a prompt over here saying that do you want to allow this app to make changes on your device? So click on yes, same as Java. So here we have the license. Obviously we need to click next and we need to agree for this. And you can see the path over here. I'm keeping everything as default. Click on next, 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 next. So here we need to click on the second option for override the default branch name for new repositories. And click on next. And for the other things, just keep the default. Next, next. And here we have come to the installation. So finally hit on finish and your Git is installed successfully. To check this, go to command prompt again and you just need to type git space -version. And you can see here the version is 2.39.2. So here we have successfully installed the Git. Now we will go again to the docs and see what next to be installed. So get the Flutter SDK over here. To download this, you need to click on this blue button and you will get a zip file. So here you can see we have this zip file installed. So click on this. It will ask you to open this file in File Explorer. So let's say OK. Here, as you can see, we have this Flutter folder over here. We have installed all this. So we will go here and we will copy this. Here, you can see the instructions. Extract the zip file and place the contained Flutter in the desired installation location for the Flutter SDK. For example, C source Flutter. So let us go to the File Explorer. Let us see where our Flutter has been installed. First, let us extract all this. And you can directly browse over here and say the location. So select folder. So let us go and check in the C drive. So we have Flutter. So let us paste here in the C drive. Here you can see we have Flutter installed successfully over here. So let us go to bin. And if you click here, you will get the path. So copy this and go to environment variable. And here you can see in environment variable, go to path. So if you don't have, you can create new. So I already have, so I can edit in this. So go here and create new and paste the path which you have copied and click OK. Now let us go to Flutter. So let us go to Flutter and you can see the Flutter console over here. So double click on this. You can see a command prompt over here. So you can just type Flutter space hyphen version. So you can see Flutter is successfully installed. You can see here welcome to Flutter prompt. So this means Flutter is installed in your system. You can check there or else you can go to command prompt and just type Flutter space hyphen version. And here also you can see we have the same result. We have Flutter 3.7.7, right? So with that we have successfully installed Flutter. And you can go to command prompt and just type Flutter Doctor. So here this will tell you what needs to be installed and not to be installed. So here you can see the Flutter is successfully installed. We can see some green color tick mark and also you can see the X mark over here. So this will tell you unable to locate Android SDK, so that it is telling us that we need to install Android Studio. Or if you want to install Visual Studio, then you can also install Visual Studio. So we have these two to be installed. So I'm going to install Android Studio. So let's go to this file again and go to Android setup. So go here. We already have a link given over here. So click on that. Download this Android Studio. Agree for the license and download. So as you can see, it has been downloaded. So let us click this. So this will tell the setup will guide you through the installation of the Android Studio. So we'll just click next. Next. So this will tell you the path. Click next. Then it will ask for the installation. So let us click install and click next. Now click next. So as you can see here, completing Android Studio setup. So let us finish. Now this will ask you for the import Android Studio settings. So let us click OK. After that, see here we have successfully installed the Android Studio. So let us keep this don't send and next. So let us keep this custom. Next. So this is the path where the Android Studio has been installed. So let's click next. So here you can see the Android version 13 is Tiramisu. So here let us click next. So that is the version that we are using now. So let us click next. So here we need to set the GB for emulator. So let us keep the recommended settings and click next. Next. And accept all the license and click finish. So downloading components is completed. So let us click finish. So here we can see we have Android Studio. So let us go to plugins here and install Flutter. Install. So this is telling me to restart this IDE. So let us do that. Restart. Now let us create the new Flutter project. So create Flutter. Here you can see the browsing option. So we have saved the file in C. So let us click this. Let us go and find the Flutter over here. So click on this. So click on OK. Next. So here you will get this. So click on the Android language as Java and give the project name. So let me give test 1 and let us go and create. So it is asking me invalid module name test1 must be valid dot package. So it must be in lowercase. So it is creating Flutter project. So here you can see this file, right? So we have the project name over here, and then we have the new Flutter project, and we have getting started. So this project is the starting point for Flutter application. Okay, now we have successfully installed everything and we are into the Flutter project. Now let us click on this lib folder. So that is the library folder. Over here you can see the main.dart file. So here this is the actual code that is the Flutter developer had given us. So as default this code will be in the main.dart file. So you can run this file over here and check whether your emulator has the output or not, so that you can check whether your emulator is working or not, or any other installation has gone wrong somewhere. So with this you will get to know that whether you're properly installed everything or not. If you want to run this code, you need to go to emulator and run. So to create the emulator, you need to have a device connected to this. So here we have no device selected as of now. So let us go to search and find for the virtual device manager and click on that. And go here and create device. Here you can select the phone and select the version you want. For example, let me create 6 and let me click next. So all the packages installed and let's click finish and finish. So here you can see we have created a virtual device Pixel 6 API 33. So let us run. So here we got an error called 𝐂𝐸𝐴𝐥𝐸 installation failed. So for that, let us go and close the project. So let us go to control panel and let us check. Go to programs, uninstall a program, turn Windows feature on or off. So here you can see we have this Hyper-V. So click on this and hit OK. So Windows completed the request change. So let us close. Now let us create new device. So here as you can see we have many categories over here like phone, tablet, desktop, TV, etc. And if you click on phone we have a lot of other versions also. So I am clicking here at Pixel 6 and I'll click next. Here we have Tiramisu. So that is the latest Android 13 version. So after this let us click next. So here we have the AVD name, that is our virtual device name. So here we will see what phone we have selected and what version we have selected, everything. So once you have confirmed everything, then let's finish. We have created a virtual device over here named Pixel 6 API 33. So if you click on this button, so this will run our emulator. So here you can see our phone has been turned on. So here we are getting Google. As you can see, it is loading. So here it is started. As you can see here, we have entered into our home page. So this is how our UI looks like. So it will act like your normal phone. So if you swipe down, so it will show you all the notifications, everything over here. And you will have internet, Bluetooth, everything over there. Then here you can see our apps. So you can click on any app so that it will act like your normal application in your phone. So you'll not feel anything different. So it will look and feel like your normal phone. So here as you can see there is a code. So when you click on your new Flutter project, this will automatically be in your default folder. So this is for testing purpose whether your emulator is working or not. So this is a sample code. So as you can see here, we have the running Gradle task here in the background tasks. So it is installing some packages. So here you can see our Flutter project has been deployed. Here is our app UI. So as you can see, we have an app bar over here, Flutter demo homepage. And here is the code for that. So let us modify it. I'll remove Flutter demo. So I'll just keep home page. So this is the title for our home page. So this is our home page. Now let us go down. So here you can see the text over there, right? So let us change that. Here I changed. So once you click on save, so automatically this page will be refreshed and your output will be automatically saved. So as you can see, the changes has been updated. So this is our home page. Here we have changed that clicked, right? So that has been changed. So here is the button. So if you click, there is a changes happening, right? So this is the logic behind this. So if you click on that, the number should be incremented. So here you can see in the code on pressed, the increment counter should be called, right? So if you click here, see if I click, so the number is incrementing, right? So that is the logic behind this code. So this is a simple application. So this is automatically built for you. So you no need to code this while beginning. So you can test this using this emulator. So let's stop this. So that we have successfully completed our environment setup with installing Flutter SDK, Android Studio and Java. So to get started with the Flutter, we need to know a programming language called Dart. So now let us see what is Dart. Dart is a general purpose programming language. It is developed by Google in 2011. It is mainly designed to be easy to learn and use, and it can be used for both client-side and server-side development. Also, Dart is object-oriented, strongly typed, and has built-in support for asynchronous programming. Dart uses a just-in-time compiler for the fast development cycle and easy debugging. And also, Dart supports ahead-of-time compilation for generating native machine codes. It can also interoperate with other languages such as JavaScript. Dart is similar like other programming languages in their basics. Dart also has variables, data types, operators, control flows, and loops. Now let us see each of it in a detailed form. Now let us go and explore variables and data types in Dart. In Dart, variables are declared using var keyword, just like our JavaScript. Dart is a statically typed language, which means that you must specify the data type of the variable when you declare it. So, the data type that are supported by Dart include int, double, string, bool, and dynamic. So, these are the respective examples for it. We use int for declaring it and number as a variable name, and we give the value over here. So if we look at the description, it uses to store integer values. So as I said before, Dart is similar like other programming languages. So it is beneficiary if you know other programming languages before you start with Dart. So as like other programming languages, variables in Dart are used to store values that can be later referenced and modified. So in Dart, you can declare a variable using the var keyword followed by the variable name and its initial value. And also, you need to keep in mind that Dart is a statically typed language, which means that once you declare a variable with a specific type, you cannot change its type later. So here let us see an example of declaring and initializing variables in Dart. A variable is a named space in the memory. So that means it stores a value. In other words, it acts like a container for the value in the program. Okay. So variable names are called identifiers. And you should keep in mind that identifiers cannot be keywords. And Identifiers can contain alphabets and numbers. And also keep in mind that it cannot contain spaces and special characters except the underscore and the dollar sign. And here the variable must be declared before it is used. Dart uses the where keyword as I mentioned before. The syntax will be where, and you will give the name for the variable and you will specify the value for that name. Here, all the variables in Dart stores a reference to the value rather than containing the value. So if we look at data types, it is one of the most fundamental characteristics of programming languages. So these are the types of values that can be represented and manipulated in the programming language. Take a note that this Dart language supports the numbers, strings, booleans, lists, maps also. So if we consider numbers, we have two data types, namely integers and double. Integer values represent non-fractional values, that is, these numerical values without any decimal points. For example, the value is equals to 15 is an integer, and integers are represented using int keyword, that is this int. And the next data type is double. So previously we have seen int. So we have said that it does not support any fractional values, right? So to use any fractional values, we use data type called double. So the double data type in Dart represents a 64-bit floating point number. For example, the value is equals to 15.01 is a double value. So the keyword for double is double itself. So it is used to represent a floating point values. Then we have strings. Here strings represent a sequence of characters. For instance, if you were to store some data like name, address, etc., right? So these names are in form of strings. Those are characters. So the string data type should be used in this case. So the keyword we use for string is string itself. So these string values are embedded in either single or double quotes. So it will be recognized only if it is inside a single or the double quotes. As you can see here, we have string message is equals to hello world. So it is wrapped inside a double quote. And the next data type is bool. It is nothing but boolean. So this boolean data type represents the boolean values, that is true and false. So here Dart uses this bool keyword for this boolean data type. So you will have a scenario of whether the day is sunny or rainy. So if it is sunny, then it is true or else it is false. To indicate this, you will have to specify a bool data type. So in this example, you can see we have bool is sunny. Whether the day is sunny, then the output will be as true or else it will be as false. Then we have another data type called dynamic. So this is kind of interesting data type. So when a variable is declared as a dynamic type, so it can store any values such as int and float or any string values even. So this is dynamic. So the values can be dynamically changed even. So the value of dynamic variables can change over time within the program. So for example, you want to specify a float value for a certain code, then you have to specify a string value in the other code. So you can use this dynamic instead of specifying int or string. So let us see an example for data types and variables. So for that, I am using a Dartpad for the compilation. Here, let me type a class name as Edureka and I will give data type for name, age and experience and whether the person is a student of Edureka or not. So I'm going to check what kind of data types are these. So for that, I'm going to type all this. So here you can see we have a class name as Edureka and I have variable called name and I have a value for that, and respectively for age, experience, and a variable called a. And I want the data type for all the variable over here, so that I want to print here. So for that I have data type of name. I'm asking what kind of data type is that, and I'm calling it with a dollar sign, and I'm asking it in a runtime type. So let us run this. As you can see, the data type of name is string, a data type of age is int, and the data type of experience is double. As you can see, we have given experience as 1.5. So it is in a fractional number, so that the compiler tells us that it is in the type of double. So as you can see, we have given the value as true. So as I mentioned in the table, we have a boolean value. So bool value is true or false. So I have specified here true, so that compiler takes it as it is a bool data type. So this is what the variables and data types are. So let us move ahead and see operators, control flows, and loops in Dart. So the operators are the special symbols that are used to carry out certain operations on the operands. So the Dart has numerous built-in operators, so which can be used to carry out different functions. For example, plus symbol is used to add two operands. So the operators are meant to carry operations on one or two operands. So we have a different types of operators in Dart. For example, arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, and we have more such as bitwise operators, conditional operators, and etc. Next we have control flow statements. The control flows, or the flow of control, is the order in which the instructions, statements, and function calls being executed or evaluated when the program is running. So these control flow statements are also called as flow control statements. So in Dart, the statements inside your code are generally executed in the sequential form from the top to bottom. So it is not always the case your program statements to be executed straightforward. You may require to execute or skip certain steps or the instructions based on the conditions. So here we have if statement, if else statement, nested if, and etc. And the next we have loops. A looping statement in Dart or any other programming language is used to repeat a particular set of commands until certain conditions are not completed. Or, in other words, Dart loop is used to run a block of code repeatedly for a given number of time or until it matches the conditions. So, these loops are essential tool for any programming languages. Here, a loop can have two parts such as a body of the loop and the control statements. So, the main objective of the loop is to run a code multiple times until the condition is satisfied. So, here in loops we have for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So, let us see each of it in a detailed form. Let us start with operators. So, as I mentioned before, we have lot of operators such as arithmetic operators, relational operators, and logical operators. And not only that, we have many more. But here in the session, we will be exploring only arithmetic, relational, and logical operators. So if you look at in arithmetic operators, this class of operators contains those operands which are used to perform some arithmetic operations. So they are binary operators, that is, they act on two operands. For example, a plus b. So here in this example, we have x plus y. So here x is an operand and y is an operand. So we perform some of the arithmetic operations on x and y. So in case of addition, if you want to add any operand, so we use this plus sign to add multiple numbers. So it is same like the mathematical operators. So to add any operands, we use plus. To subtract any operands, we use minus. And same like multiplication, division, and modulus. So you can see the addition of two or more operands. For that we use plus. To subtract any two operands we use minus. And we use star for multiplication of two or more operands. And we use slash for division, where it returns the quotient after the division as the output. And when we look at modulus, it returns the remainder after the division. So these are the arithmetic operators. So let us see an example. I will create a void main. Here I will declare two variables, that is int a is equals to 2, int b is equals to 3. So I will start with the addition. So I want the output in a variable called c. So for that, let me declare variable c. I want addition of a plus b. And I want it to be printed as the sum of a plus b, or a and b, is $C. So let me run this. Here you can see the sum of a and b is 5. So 2 plus 3 is obviously 5. So the next operation is subtraction. So same like that, where yes is equals to a minus b. And I want it to be printed as. So I'll do the same for all the operations and I will run it together. So if you run this, you need to get addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and remainder. So if you see, the sum of a plus b is 5. The subtraction of a and b is -1. The product of a and b is 6. And the quotient of a and b is 0.666. And the remainder of a and b is 2. So these are the arithmetic operators. So this is how they work. Now let us move to relational operators. So this class of operators contain those operands which are used to perform relational operations. We use greater than, lesser than, which is not equal to. So we will be getting some scenarios like whether the number is greater than this number or not, or whether it is equal to this or not. So in such conditions, we will be using relational operators. So here in this table, we have operator, description for that, and what kind of operations we will be resulting with. So here we have greater than. This will check which operand is bigger and gives a result as a Boolean expression. So as you can see, we have the output in a Boolean expression. So it will tell you whether the x is greater than y. So if it is so, it will give you true, or else it will give you false. So this is how it goes like. Now if the number is lesser than, then it checks the condition and it gives you the relatable answer. So we have another operator such as greater than or equal to, and we have lesser than or equal to, we have equal to or not equal to. So these are called as relational operators. Now let us see some examples using relational operators. Now I am going to Dartpad. So let us clear the previous operations that we have done and reload this. And same, we need to call a void main. Inside that, let me declare int a is equals to 5, int b is equals to 8. So the first operation is greater than. So where is g, which is equals to a, this is the greater sign, and b. So I want this to be printed as a is greater than B. So let me run this. So as you can see, we got the result as A is greater than B is false. So A is 5 and B is 8. So in this case, A is lesser than B. So the condition goes false. So we get the result as false. So for example, if we change the number to some greater numbers and let us run this, and the result you got is true now. So this is how the greater sign works, and similarly it works for other signs also. Now let us try for the lesser than sign. Same as previous. And you need to keep in mind this is case sensitive. So if you give print as capital, then it will give you an error that the function print isn't defined. So you need to keep in mind that print should be always in the smaller case. Now I want the result as A is less than B. Now I will check whether the A is greater than or equal to B. So for that, greater than or equal to. So in that you will specify the comment using 2/. So this is how you will define greater than or equal to. Now let us check the equality between A and B. So for that the operator is A double equals to B. So if you do this, then this will give you the equality between A and B. And the next is not equal to. For this, the sign we are using is exclamatory and equal to. So this means it is not equal to. So A is not equal to B. So now let us check the output for everything. Here, as you can see, A is greater than B is true. So let us check. Here A is 9 and B is 8. So according to the print statement, here we have A is greater than B. So if that is case, we want the output to be true, right? So we got true. Now A is less than B. So here A is 9 and B is 8. So B is less than A. So here this print statement is false. So here we got false. And if we check A is greater than or equal to B. So A is greater than or equal to B. Yes, it is true because A is greater but not equal to. So here we are giving two conditions. That is, if it is greater or equal to, then the answer should be true, or it should give us false. So it is the same in case of less than. So if A is less than or equal to B, then it should give us the answer as true. So here in our case, A is greater than B. So here this condition is false. So if you check in terms of equality between two operands, A is not equal to B. So we got false. Now if we check the condition for not equal to, then A is not equal to B. Yes, A is not equal to B. So that is why we got the answer as true. So I hope you understood the relational operators. Now let us move to logical operators. Logical operators are used to perform basic logic gates like AND, OR, and NOT. So if you look at this table, we have the symbols for operators and the name for it. So this 2 ampersand is used for AND operator, and this logical disjunction operator is used for OR operator, and this exclamatory is used for NOT operator. And this AND operator is used to add two conditions, and if both are true, then it will return true. Now, if you look at this OR operator, it is used to add two conditions, and if even one of them is true, then it will return true. Now, if you look at NOT, then this is used to reverse the result. So when the input is true, the output will be false in this. So let us take an example for this also. So let me open a void main where x is equals to true, where y is equals to false. Now let me take the operators. AND operator, so which is equals to x. I'm giving the AND operation over here. Same for OR operation. So I'm giving only exclamatory x. Whether the x is false, then the output must be true. So that is why I'm giving only one operand. So I want it to be printed. Now let us run this code. Okay. I have given operation here and I have typed operate over here. So that is why I am getting an error. So let us type operation. Yes. So the x and of y is false because we have true and false. So take this as 1 and this as 0. So 1 into 0 is always 0. So here 0 in terms of computer is false and 1 is true. So AND is false. If you take OR operation, OR is true plus false. So 1 plus 0. So which is equals to 1. So 1 is true, right? Now here if you take NOT operation, so NOT of x is false because x is true. So the complementary of x is false, right? So that is the result for logical operations. So I hope you understood the operators. Now let us move on to the control flow. Now let us look at if statement. So this if statement is a decision making statement that guides a program to make decision based on the specified criteria. An if statement consists of a Boolean expression followed by one or more statements. For example, you have a condition. Let's take a scenario. For example, a candidate needs to score 35% to pass an exam, or else he will be considered as failed candidate. So here the condition is 35 or more. So if that condition is satisfied, then the candidate is passed, or else he will be considered as failed. So this is how if statement takes a decision based on a criteria. So here the criteria is 35 or more. So it will take the decision based on the specific criteria. Now let us take a look at Dart's if-else statement. If-else statement provides the facility to check a set of test expressions and it will be executed the different statements. So it is used when we have to make a decision from a more than two possibilities. Here, this type of structure is also known as else-if ladder. So the condition is evaluated from top to bottom. So whenever it founds the true condition, the statement associated with that condition is executed. When all the given conditions are known to be false, then the else block will be executed. With this, let me give you an example for a better understanding. For that, I will write void main. So let me give marks as a variable. So I will give 95 as a marks. And I will specify if condition. So if marks is greater than or equal to 95, then I need it to be printed as outstanding. So I have specified if condition over here. Now I have another condition to be applied over here. For that I will do else if marks is greater than or equal to. So I have else if block here. So I have specified marks over here. So if this marks is less than or equal to 75, then it needs to be printed A. Then I will give another else if for the marks which is greater than or equal to 65. So if it is greater than or equal to 65, then it needs to be printed B, or else the candidate is failed. So for that, let me give the number as 89 and let me check. Here the marks is greater than 75 and less than 95, right? So the condition here is true. So this block will be executed and it will give us the result. So how does this work? First, it will check the marks over here and it checks the first condition and it evaluates the condition. So here the 89 is less than 95, right? So this condition is false. So it will go to else if condition. Now it will check for this condition and 89 is greater than 75, right? So the marks is 89. So the 89 is greater than 75. So this block is true, right? So then inside this else if will be executed as a result and other part will be ignored by the compiler and will give you the result as A. So this is how the else if statement works. Now let us see loops. Loops in Dart are used to execute a block of code repeatedly. In computer programming, a loop is a sequence of instructions that is continuously repeating until a certain condition is reached. Typically, a certain process is done, such as getting an item of data and changing it. And then some condition is checked, such as whether a counter has reached a precise number. If the condition has been reached, the next instruction falls through to the next sequential instruction or branches out to the loop. So, a loop is a functional programming idea that is commonly used to write a program. And then comes an infinite loop. So, it is one of that lacks a functioning exit routine. The result is that the loop repeats continuously until the operating system sees it and terminates the program with an error, or until some other event occurs, such as like having the program automatically terminated after a certain duration of time. So if not mentioned any conditions, then the infinite loop will be continuing. In loops, we have for loop, while loop, and do while loop. A looping statement in Dart or any other programming language is used to repeat a particular set of comments. So, if we look at for loop in Dart is similar to that in Java, and also the flow of execution is the same as Java. So, if you look at the syntax, we have for loop and we have initialization, condition, and text expression. After that, we have a block of code, that is the for loop's body. So how this control flow works? So it starts with the initialization, then it checks the condition, then it goes to the body of the loop, then it checks the test expression. So the first is executed only once in that beginning, while the other three are executed until the condition turns out to be false. Now with an example, let us understand this in a detailed form. So for that, I will go to Dartpad Let me open a void main. Then I will initialize the loop. So for int I is equal to 0, then if I is less than 5, I should be incremented. So this is my for loops condition. So here what did I do? Here I have initialized int saying I is equals to 0. So here I have a condition saying that I should be less than 5. So if I meets 5 or more than 5, the loop should be terminated, or else the I should be incremented. For here I will be printing welcome to Edureka. Now the condition goes like this. First, for loop checks the initialization, then it checks the condition. After that, if the condition is true, then the print statement will be executed. Then it goes again to this I. Now the I will be incremented. Now the I is not 0, it is 1 because it is just incremented. 1 is less than 5, right? So again this print statement will be executed. Then again the I will be incremented. So this will be repeated until this condition is false. After that, if once this condition is false, then this loop will be terminated and we will get the output as this. The print statement is printed. So this is how the for loop works. Now let us go and see while loop. Here the body of the loop will run until and unless the condition is true. Here the while loop executes the instructions each time the condition specified evaluates to true. So in other words, the loop evaluates the condition before the block of code is executed. Now if you look at the syntax over here, we have the while condition over here, then we have the expression, and after that we have the body of the loop, right? So here let us see an example for a better understanding, so that I will just clear the for loop and I will initialize variables where number is equals to 3, and let me give a factorial problem. So var factorial is equals to 1. So I have the factorial is equals to 1. Now let me give the while condition. So while number is greater than or equal to 1, then the factorial is equal to factorial into that number. So if that is so, then number should be decremented. If that is true, then it should be printing the factorial. Now let us run this code. So as you can see, the factorial is 6. So what's happening over here? So I have mentioned the number as 3. So I have initialized the number as 3. And factorial is equals to 1. So the number is 3. So the number is greater than or equal to 1. So it will go to factorial and it executes this formula. Then if that is true, then it prints the print statement. Now let us go and see do while loop. The do while loop is similar to the while loop, except that the do while loop does not evaluate the condition for the first time the loop executes. However, the condition is evaluated for the subsequent iterations. In other words, the code block will be executed at least once in a do while loop. And you should be careful, do not miss the semicolon used at the end of the do while loop. Now let us take a look at Flutter architecture and what it is comprised of. Now, one of the benefit of learning the Flutter architecture is that it helps when structuring an application, like updating the state, building widgets or screen, or making an app easy to maintain. Now, knowing the Flutter architecture, let us get familiar with these core concepts. Now, let us look at the layers of the Flutter architecture. We have embedder, that is the lower layer. Then we have engine, the middle layer, and we have a framework, that is the highest layer. Now, if we look at embedded layer, it is an entry point provided by a platform specific embedder, which coordinates with the underlying operating system to access the service such as accessibility, rendering surface, and input. The embedder is written in the platform specific language such as Java and C++ for Android, and Objective-C and Objective-C++ for iOS and macOS, and C++ for Windows and Linux. Flutter code can embed it into an existing application as a module or as a complete application's content using the embedder layer. Now, once we finish the embedder layer, we will move on to engine layer. So this is written in C or C++, and it takes care of the input, output, and network request, and it handles the difficult translation of rendering whenever a frame needs to be printed. Flutter uses 𝐄𝐝 as its rendering engine, and it is reevaluated to Flutter framework through the Dart UI, which wrap the principal C++ code in the Dart classes. Then we have the final layer, that is the framework layer. Here, the framework layer is the part where most developers can interact with Flutter. The Flutter framework provides the reactive and modern framework that is written in Dart. Within the framework layer, it comprises of rendering, widgets, and material. It also has a foundational classes and building block services like animation, drawing, and gestures, which requires for writing a Flutter application. Now, we will look into these aspects in a more detailed form. Firstly, we will go through Flutter widgets. The first thing to note in the Flutter is everything is a widget. A widget is simply an instruction that you place within your code, and they are the basic building blocks of Flutter application. Widgets indicate how their present configuration and status should appear in their display. When a widget state changes, it rebuilds its description, which the framework compares to the previous description to see what changes in the underlying rendering tree to transition from one state to the next state. A widget can be in the form of a button, image, icon, or a layout, or even a text. And placing the widgets together create a widget tree. Now, as I said, text, rows and columns, stack, containers are also considered as widgets. Now, if we take a look at text, it is a widget lets you to create a run of styled text within your application. So whatever you write in a text format, so those are considered as a widget. Now, if you look at row and column, so these are the flex widgets. It will let you to create flexible layouts in both horizontal row and the vertical column directions. The design of these objects is based on the web's flexboxes layout model. In Flutter, everything is widget. As I said, widgets are the basic building blocks of Flutter app. To be precise, there are two main types of widget. One is stateless and stateful widget. Now, before knowing what is stateful and stateless widget, first let us see what is state. The state is an information that can be read synchronously when the widget is built and might change during the lifetime of the widget. In other words, it is the responsibility of the widgets that is implemented to ensure that the state is properly notified when such state changes, or in other words, a state in widget that describes a part of user interface by building a constellation of other widgets that describes the user interface more concurrently. Now let us see what is stateless and stateful widget. Stateless widgets are those whose state cannot be changed. Once they have been created, they cannot be muted. So once these kind of widgets are developed, they are immutable. That means that any changes to the variables, icons, buttons or data retrieval will not be affected the app's state. Stateless widgets include icon button and text. Now we understood what was stateless widget. Now let us understand what is stateful widget. Stateful widget means the widget has a mutable state. So whatever the changes happen, so it will change over time. So that is the difference between stateless and stateful widget. So stateless is the changes whatever we are doing, it will never affect the stateless widget. But in terms of stateful widget, whatever the changes we are doing, so it will be changed and rendered automatically. As of now, we have completed all the theory parts. Now let us go and learn the practical way of how to create a Flutter application. I will be importing a tic-tac-toe game over here. So as you know, previously we have created a emulator, right? So that will be our emulator here also. So let me import the code. So I have imported the code over here. So I'm getting 3 errors right now. So it is telling me to import the Google fonts, right? As I told you, I will be creating a tic-tac-toe game. There I will be using some of the animations and as well as some of the Google fonts. For that, the Android Studio will ask you to import some of the packages. So that is what I'll be doing over here. So here I am in pubspec.yaml file. Here we have dependencies. Here I'll be adding animations and Google Fonts version over here, so that the Android Studio will understand what particular animations and Google Fonts or any other tools will be understood by the Android Studio. So that is the reason we add all the versions or all the tools packages that we are using over here. So once we do that, let us go to terminal and let's click on the pub-get over there, so that it will automatically run the code and it will import all the packages that we have mentioned. So as you can see here, we have changed 19 dependencies. So after that, go to the main.dart. So here there will be suggestions. So just click on the suggestions, but don't always stick to the suggestions. Sometimes it is okay, but do not always stick on to the suggestions. Now let us run the emulator and let us run the file simultaneously. So here we have the emulator and let us click on the run. Here the file is compiling. So here is our output. So this is how our output looks like. So I'll be adding you this code in the drive link or in the description box. So we have this beautiful UI, right? For that, let me explain this code detailing for a better clarification. So here I have imported a package called material.dart in Flutter, and I have imported Google Fonts as I showed you here in the dependencies. So as you can see here, we have Google Fonts. And the next line is void main, and also we have this run app called tic-tac-toe. So here it runs the run app function called tic-tac-toe. It is the entry point of the application. Now it will run this run app function with the tic-tac-toe as an argument. Here the run app function takes a widget as an argument and renders it into a screen. Then we have the tic-tac-toe as a class. So that is extended from the stateless widget. Now what is stateless widget? So it is a widget that does not depend on the mutable state. It means that the widget cannot change its appearance based on the changes that is happening. So whatever changes we do, so that will not affect the stateless widget. So that will be a static widget. The next one, we have the built method there, right? So that will be called when the widget first built and whenever its dependencies changes. So in case we have this built method returns a material app widget. So which is a pre-built method that is provided by the Flutter framework, right? Whenever the changes happens, so this built method will be called. Then we have the material app. So here this widget provides a structure for the app and it sets the title for the app. For example, we have the title bar over there, right? Or the app bar. So whatever the name that should be defined over there will be declared over here in the material app. These are the most important keywords that you need to keep in mind while building any Flutter application. First one is the void main. So that will be an entry point that you need to keep in mind. And next one is built method. So this method is very important. So anything that changes that happens there, so that will be visible in the output. So that is very important. Next one is material app. As I said, it is a structure of your app. So whatever you define, so it will be structured in a proper manner. All these keywords are very, very important while you start learning Flutter. So then after that, we are defining the theme. So we need to give the theme data over here. So as a primary color, I have mentioned blue. So that is why we are getting their blue. And we will give the text theme. And you can see we have imported the Google fonts, right? From there, we are using the pop-in text theme. And then we have come to stateful widget. Now we understood what was stateless widget. Now let us understand what is stateful widget. Stateful widget means the widget has a mutable state. So whatever the changes happen, so it will change over time. So that is the difference between stateless and stateful widget. So stateless is the changes, whatever we are doing, it will never affect the stateless widget. But in terms of stateful widget, whatever the changes we are doing, so it will be changed and rendered automatically. So as you can see, we have created a state over there. So here in this box, whatever the changes happens, so that will be set as a state. Here we have a tic-tac-toe page state. So this is a class. So this class has 3 instances variable. One is game state, active player, and winner. So now here this game state is a list of strings that will represent the current state of the tic-tac-toe game board. And if you take active player, so it is a string that will also be represented the player who is taking the move. If it comes to winner, here this is also a string that will represent the winner of the game. As you can see here, X is a winner. So it will be indicating the winner as X. Then we have the init state method. So this method is called when the widget is first created. In this case, this will call the reset game method. Here the reset method will be called to reset the game to its initial state. So whenever the button reset game click, then it will automatically set to the initial state. So this reset game method will call the initial state. So it will basically tell that the game is over and the user wants to play again. Now let us see the check win and check tie method. So these methods will check who is the winner and whether the game is being tied. So for example, let me play a game. So as you can see here, no one is a winner, so it is a tie. This method will call check tie and it will be giving you an output called it is a tie. Then we have check win method. So if a player is a winner, then it will check with these kind of conditions. Now let us see in detail. So if this check win returns the true value, the winner variable is updated to the current active player. So here if check tied returns the true value, then the winner variable is turned to tie. Now if you look at a check win method, that will check if the game has been won by the current player or not. So this method checks all the possible winning combinations of the game, and it will see the current player has made a winning move or not. If any of the winning combination is found, that all the three cells are marked with the same current player, then the method turns true. If none of the winning combinations are found to have all the three cells marked with the current player, then the method turns false. So with that, this game will check whether the current player is a winner or not. So these are the three rows and columns that will be checked by these conditions. So these are the logical and the relational operations that I have mentioned before in the Dart programming languages. So these are very important. Before learning Flutter, you need to learn Dart programming language. So each and every functions that you declare or initialize, it will always need a Dart programming language. So next is the check tie, as I said before. So this will also check whether the game is on tie or not. So then comes the widget build board. So this will build the board with the height and width 300 respectively. So after that we have border, and we have border radius that is set to 10, and we have box shadows. So these are the some kind of styling that we are doing for this application. Then we have the grid view builder. Here the each small boxes are called grid. So these are the 3 into 3 matrix, right? So this will be mentioned over there. So we have a cross axis count 3. Then we have the animation widget over there. So here we have durations, delay, widget, decorations, everything. So whatever the stylings we need to mention, that we can mention, so that you can alter according to your way. So here we have the item count of 9. So as I said before, it is a 3 into 3 matrix. Then we have the widget called built message. So as you can see, we have turn X, right? So this is the built message widget. So this will be rendered when the current player changes from X to O or O to X, or if the game comes to an end, or whether the game is won by any of the player, or if the game is turned to tie. So whenever all these events happen, this built messages will automatically re-render and will give you the output. So whenever the game comes to an end or any of the player has won, so here I have mentioned the condition as if the winner X wins, the color should be in blue, or else the color should be in red. So whenever the O wins the game, then the color will be turned to red, or else it will be in blue. Then we have the widget called built context. Here we have scaffold. This scaffold will have the properties like material app has. So here where we will be telling the app that the box should be aligned in the middle, and the box should have this much of height and width, or any event happens, like for example any button is clicked or any other boxes are clicked, so that will be called through this scaffold method. Then we have the animation widget. So here we have imported all the animations, right? So this will be called in the main.dart file. So here all the animation will be in the version of 2.0.7. So this will indicate the widgets, delay, decorations, and what kind of actions that are happening in the box. So these are all the custom animated widgets. So whatever we have seen this from the animation widget, so these are all the custom animated widgets. So this will be used to apply a fade and slide animations to the child widgets. So if you take a look at the initial state, so this is a method. So as I said before, this is called when the first widget is created. And within this method, an animation controller is created with the duration specified by the widget duration. So here also we have the built method. So when the widget is built or rebuilt, this build method will be called. Right. So within this method, a fade transition method is also called. It also calls the opacity animations to the child widgets. Then finally, we have a dispose method. So when the widget is removed from the tree, then this dispose method will be called. So within this method, the controller object is disposed to prevent the memory leaks. So overall, this code creates a Flutter application that displays a game of tic-tac-toe. Let's finally play a game. Let's see who wins. Yes, X wins. So this is how this app works. Flutter is a easy and fun to work with, and it saves your time and effort by letting you to create single code base for both Android and iOS. If you like our videos, then I suggest you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to never miss any updates from us, especially on Flutter. I hope you will be a Flutter developer in the future. Let's see you in the next video. Until then, happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!